Since the dawn of man, folks have had superstitions. Many would say that these irrational beliefs and fears stem from survival instincts and getting lucky in the past. So when bad stuff happens consistently around a certain person, place, or thing, we find it easy to say that it's cursed and then avoid it. Is there any credence to these things? Who knows? But over the years, plenty of curses have found themselves in the spotlight, with people coming from all over to see if the hype is real. I personally wouldn't take the risk, but hey, you do you. So today we're gonna count down the top 5 scary real life curses. Coming in at number 5, we've got the Annabelle Doll. We'll kick today's list off with a top 5 favorite. I can't begin to count the amount of times Annabelle has been brought up in our lists. From lists detailing horror movies, creepy dolls, the exploits of the Warrens, and more, this Raggedy Ann from hell is feared around the world. Apparently for good reason too. You don't make a hyper-successful horror movie franchise based on real events without some real events, right? So what's so scary about the Annabelle doll anyways? The real life one looks pretty much nothing like the porcelain nightmare depicted on the big screen. Why would people be so afraid of a fabric doll with a big smiling face? Well, you'd have to go back to the origins of the rumors of cursedness. Back in the 1970s, a couple of young nursing students started noticing some strange happenings around their house. After receiving a doll as a gift from one of their mothers, it seemed like a dark energy permeated their home. Annabelle came from an antique shop, and before that, nobody seems to have any history on the thing. But once it dropped into the lives of Donna and her roommate, things got really weird. At first, it was just little stuff. The doll would move around when nobody was looking, often changing its pose when people were home or totally changing locations if no one was around. Creepy, but not terrible. Unfortunately, that was just the beginning. Annabelle then started leaving creepy notes around for Donna to discover, often with messages like, "Help," scrawled into scraps of paper. They called in a medium who did seem to think that there was evil within the doll. Before they could do much else about it, Annabelle even wounded a guest who stayed on the couch one night. This led to an exorcism of the doll, which didn't seem to work. Of course, the girls wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible, so the Warrens decided to take the doll with them. For years, Annabelle was kept in a glass enclosure complete with warning label. The curse might still be there, but in a room full of restrained curios, there isn't as much Annabelle can get up to these days. I'm sure if she does eventually get moved elsewhere, more trouble will begin. Coming in at number 4, a phone number. It's hard to imagine something like a curse being associated with a simple string of digits, right? A phone number is just a sequence of numbers leading to a destination after all. But apparently a very specific 8-filled number has caused misfortune for all those who claim it. If you end up on a new phone plan in the near future and notice too many octuples, ask for a different one. It could very well save your life. Now, that's not to say that any phone number with a bunch of 8s in it is gonna kill you. But Mobitel, a telecom company, had to nix one of their numbers after a bunch of terrible things happened to those in possession of it. 0888 888 888 was the string of digits in question, and it seemed like it caused a lot of problems. First, a former Mobitel CEO had it. He ended up dying of cancer at 48 in 2001. Rough start, but it could just be an unfortunate coincidence. But next, a Bulgarian mob boss took the number. Soon afterwards, he was killed by an assassin. So maybe there is something to this after all. Finally, a businessman became the keeper of this number. All seemed well for a little bit, but this dude actually ended up getting shot outside of a restaurant. So unfortunate ends for all of them. After that last death, Mobitel took the number out of circulation altogether. They never gave a straight answer as to why either. Maybe they just wanted to avoid getting caught up in rumors about curses, it's bad for business. Or maybe the curse was getting too real and they didn't want more blood on their hands. Coming in at number 3, we've got King Tut's Curse. Now for some truly legendary curses, we have to go way back in time. Maybe folks back then knew something we don't, because it seems like these curses are much more powerful and long-lasting than the ones we're more familiar with today. Or maybe superstitions just held more sway before widespread communications technology was available. I guess we'll never know for sure. But yeah, ancient Egyptian curses have been a very popular topic for quite a while, likely especially influenced by the archaeologists who opened King Tut's tomb. Back in 1923, a British team of archaeologists found and popped open the tomb of King Tutankhamun. Inside waited priceless treasures, from precious metals and gemstones to a chariot to a coffin made of solid gold. However, this hidden tomb was also said to contain a terrible curse. This did not prevent the archaeologists from cataloging all the treasures though. At first, it seemed like they had all avoided the curse, but 2 months after the discovery of the tomb, the team's sponsor died from a bacterial infection. At that point, people started taking the curse a little more seriously. It would get brought up every time one of the team members died from that point on, leading many to believe that the curse was real. This kind of dark, vengeful magic was then forever associated with any sort of ancient Egyptian discovery. And of course, plenty of movies were made propagating this idea. Hell, someone even claimed that the Titanic hit the iceberg because of the mummy's curse. Coming in at number 2, the Dybbuk box. This is one that has actually received quite a bit of attention as of late. The Dybbuk box is an old wine box said to contain a hateful demon from Jewish mythology. These demons love to possess people and ruin their lives, and in fact it was the inspiration for the movie The Possession, where a Dybbuk box does just that. It gained some traction back in 2001 when a man bought the box from an estate sale and claimed that it had once belonged to a Holocaust survivor. After he purchased it, he began having terrible nightmares and witnessing strange events around his house. He sold it on eBay, which raised the box's profile and got a lot of people interested in the curse. Currently, it is on display in Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, which kind of detracts from its cursed reputation if I'm being honest. Once an item like this becomes a sideshow, some of that allure is lost. But apparently it was the star of an episode of Ghost Adventures Live, and Post Malone decided to see what it was all about. The musician touched the box and claimed to have paid the price ever since. He says he heard the voice of a little girl upon touching it and ran away soon after. The next day, after encountering a dark shadowy figure, Post Malone sent Baggins a picture of a giant bruise on his arm. Could the Dybbuk from the box be looking to possess a pop star? I guess we'll find out in due time. And finally, at number 1, we've got the Hope Diamond. Every person who has laid claim to this diamond over the years has fallen victim to a terrible fate. It's a priceless gemstone, rumored to have been stolen from an ancient statue deep below a mine in India. Of course there's gotta be a curse attached with that kind of story. See, the original thief that is said to have stolen it is also rumored to have died a horrible death. Then, every person who's come into contact with it has perished in gruesome, high-profile ways. From committing tragic suicides to being torn apart by angry mobs to having their head chopped off, the Hope Diamond brought despair wherever it went. There is even the case of someone being killed by wild dogs for owning the gem, which is pretty wild. Eventually, the diamond made it into the hands of Harry Winston, who decided he'd seen enough. He wasn't gonna hold on to this famous gem and wait for tragedy to befall him, so he donated the diamond to the Smithsonian, which is where it still resides today. But that wasn't quite the end of it. Unfortunately, the mailman who delivered the diamond to the museum got in a car accident, crushing his leg and injuring his head. So even when it was on its way to a charitable place of rest, the Hope Diamond caused one last bit of trouble. Maybe a great deal of the tragedies befalling those who owned the Hope Diamond came about because of their rich and famous lifestyles, but it is odd that so many strange events occurred around the gem for so many years. Thankfully, most of these curses are locked away or largely inaccessible to the average individual. It's hard to accidentally come across a curse these days, despite what the movies might tell you. So, what'd you think of the list? Have you encountered anything like these before? What's the craziest curse you've ever heard of? Are curses real, or do we just imagine them and make connections? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more incredulous ones from the top 5 scariest horror movies nobody talks about, part 8. Oni Kaiser says, the whole In the Mouth of Madness combination is great, from the creature effects to the soundtrack to the pace and acting. And of course, the addition to Sutter Kane to everyone's reading list. Me says, you are the first person I've actually heard use za to refer to pizza. Well, that shouldn't be too surprising considering that you are me. Markiaj says, did Keegan just call House of the Devil House of the Dead at 432? Good catch, I slipped up. But you know I wasn't talking about arcade shooters in Uwe Boll, right? Dave Lawson says, what happened to parts 5 through 7? Oh, they're still there. Go back and double check. Maybe send the links to some friends too. And Andrea Clark says, Feast was a really movie. Really what, Andrea? Really what? I won't be able to sleep until I know. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna see if fire breathing is as easy as it looks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I can't begin to count the amount of videos. Whoa. I can't begin to count the, whoa. This Raggedy Ann from hell. Nope. The real life one looks pretty much nothing. Whoa. This led to an exorcism. After a bunch of terrible ancient curses have a. But yeah, ancient curses, nope. See, the original thief that was said to have stolen it is also, whoa. Those who owned the Hope Diamond came about because of their, Markiaj says, Keegan, nope. Is there any credence to the, with plenty, So we're gonna count down, nope. Is it Raggedy Ann or Raggedy Annie?